He likened Bob Dylan very much to a vacuum cleaner. And as you move the vacuum cleaner, his vocals go, oh, Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Audiophiles, my lover. My name's John. His name is Andy. She wanted to test her husband. She knew exactly what to do. A pseudonym to fool him. She couldn't have made a worse move. More on that later. But first, we've got a track to listen to. What have you got in store for us today, Andy?
I have an act called Dope Lemon. Have you ever heard of Dope Lemon? Oh, well, it's pretty dope. And a track by them called Honey Bones. So, two interesting names, just sound like two words thrown together, both the name of the band and the name of the song. So, Dope Lemon, Honey Bones. Go off and give this thing a trial run and come back and let us know where you stand.
Will do. I'm gonna have to stop looking at the video because I'm drifting off straight away. I was just thinking Pink Floyd and stuff like that, and then the last with the ice. That was great, great. So really nice start. You've got the hand percussion that sounds reminiscent of sort of South Asian tablas, which I guess is the point. And other bits of percussion metalwork ticking away there. And then there's a sound very similar to a sitar sort of drone sound in the background. And then there's sort of metallic sort of guitar ringing. And then another one comes to the top of that sort of main riff, which sounds really nice. So yeah, immediately we've got psychedelia, family roots in the 60s, sort of shoved through that sort of Ravi Shankar filter. It's got a bit of the sort of Brian Jonestown Massacre about it as well. But yeah, sounds great so far. The imagery is fantastic. I'll try to not focus on that. But yeah, good stuff.
Post hasn't made it here for days. We've been walking around every which damn way. The clouds are coming, they're knocking on my window pane. They wanna know what it is that I got planned.
Yeah, great voice. It is one of those voices that sounds like it's wrung out a bit. It's got some reverb on it too. Yeah, so I think with psychedelia, and it really works well, is it sets that scene and it takes you off into somewhere. And it has this distance to it. So it doesn't get you straight in there, but it's like soul can or blues, definitely. And his voice mimics that very well. So it's got a bit of reverb on it. And again, it has this sort of distance and this sort of dreaminess to it, almost. Haziness. Um, yeah, and his voice is reminiscent of certain parts of Dylan and the way he delivers it. So he talks about post not been there for days, which again has this sort of distance to it, like you're in some sort of bit that's just a little bit off from society, perhaps. He talks about the clouds knocking on his window pane, asking what his plans is. But he emphasizes certain words when they ask, what it is that I've got planned. It sounds very Dylan-esque when he does that. His voice isn't particularly like Bob Dylan, but it's just the way he delivers it, which is pleasing. I've always liked that. I've always liked Dylan and the way he sings as well, the early Dylan. So yeah, it sounds great, and it's definitely achieving that psychedelic vibe, and the visuals are great. I love those dresses. I had a girlfriend used to wear stuff like that. I think she got it from Russia, which has sort of like a decoration down there. But it kind of also makes me think of Scandinavia. I don't know why. Anyway.
Should make you feel alright. Should make you feel okay. She keep you up at night. Oh, she got that money gone. She got that money gone.
All right, I won't interrupt too much more, but that sort of coming back in with the guitar and the drums and cymbals there, that's really sort of Brian Jonestown Massacre-esque. Yeah, really similar. Cool stuff.
She got that. She got that money gone. She got that money from her gone.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. It had that sort of hypnotic quality about it. That you sort of drifting off and thinking about things that have got nothing to do with this. But yeah, it sort of took me to that place, which I guess it's weird when people mention psychedelia. I don't have a great response to it. And someone says there's a band doing that nowadays or whatever. I presume this is fairly modern. Um, Again, that doesn't entice me. I think there's so much psychedelic stuff from that period to be mined. But when someone does give it to me and I listen to it, I always enjoy it. So that's more about me than about them. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. I think it set the tone beautifully. There's some really um, authentic sound to it. It's difficult, and Brian Jonestown Massacre, sorry to reference them again, but they walk that fine line between sort of imitating stuff from the past and pastiche, and then mining their own sound as well from it. And it's a really fine line. And you can argue that many successful bands not quite managed to do that. There's a few that spring to mind, obviously, but hugely successful and popular. I think this is nothing wildly new and a new brave sound that is created out of the bones of psychedelia, but it's good enough to listen to, and I'll probably listen to this again. So that's something, I guess. But we need to find out more about Dope Lemon. And see here, Electric Green Lambo. Interesting stuff. Yeah, let's go back and check it out with Andy.
All right, so you are back from giving Dope Lemon a listen, their track Honey Bones. What say you, John?
Okay, so this begins with the beat of repetitive percussion, very reminiscent of South Asian sort of tabla on drums. Add in this sort of distant metallic guitar and some sitar-like droning back in the mix, and there's more than a hint of 1960s psychedelia that was put through the lens of Ravi Shankar et al. With this sort of trippy texture, there are some occasional strikes on the cymbals as the main riff coalesces on the guitar. It has that distance to it you get with some of these sort of early Brian Jonestown Massacre songs as well. Those songs and this song tread that sort of fine line between imitation and pastiche. The argument about originality always comes up when a track references a past style. Nevertheless, this is successful in tapping into that psychedelic state of mind, which isn't just limited to psychedelia, tribal music and other things as well do it, but this sort of befogging of the senses to hopefully induce revelation from another viewpoint, or what some might call an altered state. The singer enters, probably on all fours, with a voice that drawls like dirty socks making the trip to the laundry basket under their own power. There's some reverb to the vocals that sort of increase the sense of distance and languor as well. Every so often he extends on a word or a syllable, very much like early Dylan does as well. So there's a bit of inspiration from Dylan and stuff.
Yeah.
There was a comedian in the 80s. I remember on the British version of Saturday Night Live, short-lived Ben Elton, gold lame suit. Ladies and gentlemen, bit of politics. And this comedian came on and he did it impersonations as well. And he likened Bob Dylan very much to a vacuum cleaner. And as you move the vacuum cleaner, his vocals go, oh yeah, it all stuck with me. Anyway, I believe this singer opens with the post hasn't made it here for days. And we've been walking around every which damn way. Again, you get this imagery of distance, perhaps even isolation from mainstream society. It feels like you're, away from things. but still slightly connected in theory anyway, by a working postal service. When we think about it, postal services pretty much connect everywhere, even if you're the most remote place. They rock up to a lighthouse or something with your cards from your granny or whatever. Anyway, he sings about the clouds approaching him and knocking on the windows to inquire about his plans. Perhaps they're worried about the dress code. This discourse with the elements or inanimate objects that hold some sort of portentous nature is classic psychedelia as well. A reference there. We get a chorus with some added vocals in a high register. I think it's one of a female or an altered thing, but he sings, "She'll make you feel all right. She'll make you feel okay. She'll keep you up at night. Ah, she got them honey bones." And then the guitar comes back in at this point with that main riff, and it does sound great. It has all the clarity of mulligatawny soup, but it does sound good. The meaning of honey bones, indeed, honey dripping from her bones. Maybe it's some sort of marinade a certain tribe from Papua New Guinea prefers. Second time I've referenced them in the 2 episodes. Perhaps it is some intrinsic nature of the subject itself, so within their bones. Honey can mean many things, not just sweetness. Ask the Jesus and Mary chain. But I think in this case, whatever flavour of meaning they may refer to, it's definitely desirable to the singer. Tell them about the honey, mummy. Though that riff and the guitar comes and goes above all the droning and metallic twangs and the sitar effects. And it has a certain tone to that guitar riff that kind of just makes me feel it has a bit of the counterculture to it. It's not your hippie tone with a sunny disposition. Although the whole song does have something of like a hazy sunlight to the overall vibe, with an almost drowsy, hypnotic feel. The next verse refers to rubies and gold, which maybe spark a few thoughts. So I don't like gold, as you know, where I prefer silver. There was this thing particularly the 80s. There was 2 main culprits, one being a jewelry store called Ratner's, where they sold gold jewelry so cheap. And he was caught on a hot mic. Someone asked him, "How can you sell gold jewelry for like, $10 or whatever?" And he said, "You know how we can do it? Because it's shit." And it was caught and broadcast everywhere. He lost his position. Ratner's went down the pan. And the other one is Argos, and it's quite, it's a cultural reference. Argos gold being this really off yellow color that people were dripping with, and they were just, standard lower or working class or whatever, but they were just covered, bedecked in gold jewelry. It was truly horrendous sight. So I always preferred silver anyway. Yeah. But rubies. I've always thought my instinctual reaction to rubies is they give off like an old-fashioned vibe. And I was thinking about this, and I was thinking, what about the other jewels? And I think, like, sapphires are kind of cool with that blueness to them anyway. Emeralds always scream to me old money. There's an age to emeralds. I don't know why. And diamonds, I think, are modern and perhaps coloured with blood. But rubies feel like great-grandmothers and pirate treasure. They do feel old school and not fashion. It's just funny. That's my head. Anyway, he mentions velvet walls and velvet falls, whatever that may be, before noticing the yellow moon, and she's dancing across the floor. A yellow moon, as opposed to a silvery one, makes me think of the harvest moon, gifts of nature, abundance, all that sort of thing. Adding in the next line where she dancing forward to the moon adds another layer of association to it and this mystique to the subject, linking her with the moon. We get another trippy chorus, the same structure of a guitar coming back in after the first half of the chorus. And your man extols the virtues of honey like gold as we sort of tiptoe down along, and then the music swells back again. And the repetition of the lyrics, like a mantra, increases the sort of meditative state. I did find myself drifting off a couple of times as the song finally in itself drifts to an end. But this really weird sort of shuffle beat right at the very end that felt like it was part of another song or something. Very odd, right at the very end. Yeah, really good stuff. I found the video very distracting. Um, these pretty young girls who probably never heard of a psychedelic song ever in their lives, fannying around on a hillside.
Yeah.
But yeah, very nice to look at, but I found it distracting. But yeah, overall, I thought this, I presume and imagine this is a fairly recent effort. Um, I think I said in reaction, it's strange. If someone mentions to me psychedelic music, perhaps modern psychedelic music, I probably would give it a pass. My instinct is that there's so much psychedelic music from that psychedelic period that why would you bother? However, in most cases, and in this case, when someone does play me something like this, I always enjoy it.
Hmm.
So that's on me. But yeah, I thought this created the psychedelic vibe perfectly. It sounded great, great sound. Was it anything new and mind blowing? No. Was it a really good example? Yes. Is it something I listen to again? Definitely.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. And yeah, I mean it does speak to the for me what is the quintessential sort of definition or for me where my mind goes when someone says psychedelic rock, this is the sound. And I think it's probably because it's the first kind of the first gen of psychedelic rock. Yeah, so of course it takes you back to, as you were quick to point out, the Ravi Shankar sort of mid to late 60s sound that the Beatles and others started to inject into what we now know as like that classic rock sound. So yeah, really enjoyed this the first time I heard it. It brought me to kind of took me back to frankly a place I've never been, but I've listened to the music from well before I heard this. So yeah, it's pretty authentic in that regard. Also, it's funny you mentioned the rubies. When I hear rubies, it was like the first thing I thought was, of course, he chose rubies as the gemstone because the music sounds so Indian, and rubies are like obviously mined and found in India. For some reason I don't know that when I think of that gemstone, that's the geographic area I think of. So when I hear a sitar, that is also the geographic area that I think of. So it seems like it would just make proper sense for that to if he's going to reference a gemstone, it'd be a ruby. But I don't know. That's just where my brain went. But it's funny to hear your different associations and classifications and sort of traits of these gemstones. And as someone whose birthstone is a sapphire, it was cool to hear you say, that you thought that was a pretty cool one. But yeah, let's get into the act and the tune a bit and the album on which it features. But Angus John Stone is an Australian musician, singer, songwriter, and record producer. He is one half of the musical sibling duo Angus and Julia Stone, with whom he has released 5 studio albums. However, Stone currently records under the moniker, you guessed it, Dope Lemon. Stone was born on April 27, 1986, and grew up in Sydney. His parents, John and Kim Stone, were both folk musicians, and he grew up under their musical tutelage with his older sisters, Catherine and Julia Stone. At primary school, he joined the school band with his father teaching and his sisters accompanying. At family gatherings, when the children performed, Stone played trombone, Catherine on saxophone, and Julia on trumpet, with Kim singing and John playing keyboard and guitar. So, quite the musical family. At about the age of 14, his parents separated, and soon after, he started writing pop songs. Stone joined a band in high school as the lead singer, playing cover songs and original songs, and the band performed at numerous local community events. And while on holiday with his sister in South America, Stone showcased his musical side to Julia, as his music, as if they didn't grow up playing and she didn't have some indication. Angus was writing amazing songs, she would say. He had shown me how to play guitar in Bolivia, and those songs had gotten me through that year. By 2005, Stone was playing at open mic nights. Sometimes Julia performed backing vocals. After playing split sets with each singing backing vocals to the other's material, in 2006 they formed a duo, Angus and Julia Stone, the aforementioned. In March of that year, the pair recorded their debut extended play, Chocolates and Cigarettes, another lovely duo, which was released in August. Since then, the group has released 2 EPs, 2 compilation albums, and as I mentioned, 5 studio albums. His debut solo album, Smoking Gun, was released in April of 2009 under the pseudonym Lady of the Sunshine. It was recorded over 6 weeks during 2008 with Finn, also known as Govinda Doyle, who also played drums and bass guitar in a converted old water tank on Finn's property in North Queensland. The album reached the top 50 on the ARIA Albums chart. In March 2010, the duo's second album, Down the Way, debuted at number 1. And by 2011, it was certified 3 times platinum by ARIA. It was the highest selling album by an Australian artist in 2010 and peaked in the top 30 on the French albums chart and stayed in the top 200 for 86 consecutive weeks. At the ARIA Music Awards of 2010, the duo won Album of the Year for Down the Way and Single of the Year for Big Jet Plane. The track was also voted number 1 in the Triple J Hottest 100 in 2011. Later that year, Stone began working on his second solo album, Broken Brights. It was released in Australia on July 13th of 2012 and peaked at number 2. The album was built upon childhood influences such as Bob Dylan and the Eagles, and the end result became this interesting Dylan-esque, output, but as laid back as Dylan, but with rockier elements as well. And in 2016, Stone began recording under the moniker Dope Lemon and released the album Honey Bones. It was recorded with Rowan Brown of The Walking Who and Elliot Hammond in Stone's own farm studio, and it peaked at number 11 in Australia. Charmaine de Souza from The Music said Honey Bones is an effortlessly cool collection of breezy tunes that's guaranteed to be that's going to be every Triple J fan's wet dream. The stellar combination of dreamy vocals and layered hooks is rough around the edges in all the right ways and works hard at putting its listener in an almost inescapable trance. Amanda Sharing from Forte magazine said, the album fine-tunes everything Stone has done in the past to reach the epitome of what it means to blend fantasy and reality. The team at AAA Backstage reviewed the album and wrote the following of it and its title track. Angus Stone and his good friends have dropped the debut album for their project Dope Lemon, Honey Bones. Unlike what comes from when you and your friends get together to jam in a basement, Honey Bones is a beautiful psychedelic folk album that brings so many different ideas together seamlessly in one release. The album takes you on a psychedelic journey, working you through so many different effects and layers that at times it can be a struggle to be entirely sure what you're hearing and how it was created. The album is best experienced with headphones on, as the mixing definitely plays with your perceptions as sounds move around your ears and you're caught in the swirling maelstrom of effects. Adding title track Honey Bones takes an exotic excursion employing a tabla drum beat and constantly jangling sitar in the background to paint a meditative backdrop, which is only further layered by long drawn out bass notes and repeating guitar lines. Almost inaudible vocal harmonies add a psychedelic texture to this track in the chorus. 4 songs in, you're taking a psychedelic journey thanks to unadulterated guitar effects and fun layering. After descending into the lull of psychedelic trance, you're slowly awoken through the remaining tracks. So, let's jump into these lyrics. The post hasn't made it here for days. We've been walking around every which damn way. The clouds are coming. They're knocking on my window pane. They want to know what it is that I got planned. She'll make you feel all right. She'll make you feel okay. She'll keep you up at night. Ah, she's got them honey bones. Ah, she got them honey bones. She got them. Ah, she got them honey bones. She got them honey dripping from her bones. All the finest rubies won't be enough. 'Cause I've seen the gold fallen from above, and the velvet walls, how the velvet walls. I see the yellow moon. She's dancing across the floor. She'll make you feel all right. She'll make you feel okay. She'll keep you up at night. Oh, she's got them honey bones. Oh, she's got them. Ah, she got them honey bones. Hey, it's dripping from her bones. Yeah, it's dripping from her bones. It's dripping like honey. It's dripping like gold. It's dripping like honey. It's dripping like gold. It's dripping like honey. It's dripping like gold. It's dripping like honey. Whoa, she got them honey bones. Oh, she got them. Ah, she got them honey bones. Oh, she's got them honey bones dripping oh, she's got them honey dripping from her bones. She got them honey bones. She'll make you feel all right. She'll make you feel all right. She'll make you feel all right. So, according to the artist himself, the track is about escaping modern stress and delirium to return to a simpler, grounded state of being. Sounds like some hippie bullshit to me. It reflects a desire to unplug from materialism, societal expectations, and the constant chase for things we do not need. On February 27th, 2017, Stone released his second set of studio recordings as Dope Lemon, the four-track EP Houndstooth. Smooth Big Cat Dope, Lemon's second full-length album, was released in July of 2019. The album spawned the popular single Hey You. In September of 21, Stone announced the release of the third studio album by Dope Lemon titled Rose Pink Cadillac. The album was preceded by the singles Every Day is a Holiday, Kids Fallen in Love, Rose Pink Cadillac, and Stingray Pete, and was released in January of 22. Kimosabi, Dope Lemon's fourth studio album, was released in September of 23. The album was the first of Dope Lemon's albums to feature Stone's face on the album cover. The album peaked at number 9 on the ARIA albums chart. And in February of last year, 2025, Dope Lemon announced the future release of his album Golden Wolf, which was subsequently dropped on May 9th of that year. And that sums up his discography as Dope Lemon, at least for the time being. You know, we'll see what 26 and the rest of 26 and 27 have in store for them. But yeah, really interesting sound. Obviously, no matter what, group or duo, because he was obviously keen on that for the first couple iterations of his, musical tenure. He's, had success, a great deal of it. It would seem he's got 3 times platinum, all these singles lasting weeks in the charts and all this stuff. So he's done a lot as a musician over there in Australia, and he has had some crossover success as well. I mean, I mentioned how well it did in France, but you'll stumble across some of his stuff over here on indie stations and the like. So yeah, really interesting sound. I think he switches up what he's going for from time to not genre hops a bit from album to album, but this one certainly leans into that psychedelic kind of sound and motif that he's got going on in this track. So it's kind of indicative of what you're getting on the rest of the album too, which is worth listening to. But and I'm really glad that you gave this one a spin and that you enjoyed it, John. So thanks so much, man. I appreciate you.
No problem.
Excellent. Well, guys out there in the listening audience, please let us know what you thought of this track by Dope Lemon. And if there's any other stuff by this talented individual that we should check out, whether it's the stuff with his sister or the stuff he did thereafter, please just shout it out in the comments field below and we'll add it to the list. Also, please like, share, and or subscribe if you haven't done any or all of those things. We really do appreciate it. And hopefully John and I will catch all y'all in growing numbers on the next episode of the Audiophiles. We'll see you later, guys.